Well, welcome. Glad to have you with us today. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy. Time for another great show. Well, I don't know if it's going to be a great show. We never really know whether it's going to be a great show or not. That's up to you to tell me whether it's a great show. I mean, if you get something out of it and you say, oh, wow, I didn't know that, I'm going to make a note of that, and that's going to help me for the future, then indeed it was a great show. I'm delighted to be able to bring that to you. The premise of this show is that one guy with one PC can do one awesome broadcast if they've got the right broadcasting software, live video production, whatever you want to call it. Someday we're going to have to come up with a name for all this stuff. VidBlaster is what I call it, and I think VidBlaster is great. I've been dealing with VidBlaster since February of 2009 is when I first discovered it, or it discovered me. I'm not quite sure how it worked. And it was something that I had searched for the longest time. My boys played soccer, and so I was a photographer for the soccer team, and I did a website for the soccer team, and I started doing, taking some video, and then somebody asked me, said, well, can't you, Tom, you're a smart guy, can't you broadcast this stuff over the internet somehow? And, that was back in 2007, I think. February of 2007, could have been 08. The mind goes foggy after a while. And I found that I could put a webcam, attach it to my PC, of course, and that there was a little company somewhere out in the Midwest that could take my camera feed and my audio feed from the camera, from the webcam, and put a little bitty page, a little bitty picture on a page. And so we did that for a soccer tournament and broadcast the address of this thing, the URL. And parents from all over the country who sent their kids to the soccer match but didn't go could watch it live. Now, the little players were only about this big on the screen. It was really kind of funny. You could just see them kind of running around like little ants, and you could hear shouts in the background. But the parents thought it was great. I was so new to it that I was kind of shy, I guess. You shy, really? Yeah, I was shy. All I did was take the little camera. We had it duct taped to a tripod. It was wonderful. Duct tape is that tape that's good for everything. It'll fix anything. And we duct taped the camera to a tripod. So we just pointed the tripod back and forth as the ball went from one end of the field to the other. And then we'd get wild and crazy. And at halftime, we'd take a pad and we'd write down the score and put halftime and then put it up in front of the camera so people at home would know what was going on. And it was a tournament that we were doing. It was Saturday and Sunday. And so by the time Sunday came around, we got really bold and we started saying the score is 2-1 in favor of the white team or something like that. And it just, it evolved from that into a full-blown production with multiple cameras and instant replay and scoreboards and announcers and ads that we played at halftime and pregame. And it was just a ton of fun. And that was after we discovered VidBlaster, of course, because VidBlaster allowed you to put all that stuff together and put it on one stream. So that was the first one I found. Found some others after that, but none that kind of worked the way my mind works. And so, I like the intuitive approach that they took. Boy, how did I get off on that subject? Anyway, I was just trying to give you a little background there, I guess. Today we're going to talk about VidBlaster and Skype. Skype, that good old video call stuff that's been around forever and a day. Skype is up to version 6 now. I think I first discovered it at version 2, and boy, was it primitive. But a lot of people like to take a Skype caller and bring them in to their broadcast, either as a guest on a talk show like we have here, and we're going to demo that in just a few minutes. Or you can think of all sorts of other purposes. You could bring a remote professor in and do a slideshow and have them talk about their slides when they're in another part of the world, but you've got their slides. Or PowerPoint, you could do the same thing with that. There are lots of ways when you think about how you're going to combine, a person that's remotely located over here with information that's located over here and merge them together and send them out to a viewing audience, or recorded audience for that matter, or both, as in the case of today's show. We're recording this as well as streaming it live. By the way, if you're watching the recorded version on YouTube, we'd love to have you show up for a regular show. We got a bunch of folks in the chat room, and they're going to be talking back and forth as the show goes on, and it's a lot of fun to join in with that. We're 3 o'clock Eastern on Wednesdays, 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. And golly, I don't know what time in the morning on Thursday in Australia. It seems to change from season to season. Anyway, today we're going to talk about bringing Skype into your call. Now today I am using VidBlaster version 3.19, which is not the latest beta. It's the next to latest beta. 3.12 came out, 3.20 came out last week, but it has a little bug in it, which means that it's not really usable right now, at least for what I'm doing. So we'll have to wait for 3.21 to come out. We think very soon that we'll have that bug fixed in it. So we've got VidBlaster version 3.19, and that's just for reference. And then I'm going to be using Skype version 6.7.0.102. 6.7.0.102. And currently my Skype, I shouldn't do this, I should know better, but my Skype updates itself. And I think it would probably be wise for me to go into Skype and say, don't update yourself. Wait for me to come in and update you. Because there was a time, it was probably 2 years ago, where Skype updated itself, and then suddenly nobody could get their return video working. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So make sure your Skype is configured to not automatically update, and that will be good. With the Skype caller, there are a couple of aspects to the technology that we need to kind of talk about and say, this is the basics. Obviously, you've got a Skype caller. He's got video that you want to capture, and he or she has got audio that you want to capture so that you can bring it into your show. It's also really helpful if your Skype caller can hear you and can see you or the show so that they know what's going on. So if, for example, if I've got a caller and he sent me a video that he wants to have me play, and then he's going to narrate live and talk about different things, or if he's got a series of pictures or slides that he wants me to sort of run through and then he can talk about them, then he has to be able to see the show. So we need to find a way to get back the video of the show back to the caller. So we've got audio, 2 directions. We've got video, 2 directions. So that's 4 connections that we've got to make. And you say, oh, that's easy, no problem. Well, it's easy. It really is easy. And in fact, for some people, for some of you guys that are smarter than me, it's like, yeah, I just do this and do this and do this and do this, and boom, it works. But for the rest of us non-geniuses, sometimes it can be a little complicated. It's not difficult. It's not difficult, but it's just a matter of getting things connected and hooked up just right. So let's divide it into those 4 parts, and we'll take each one of those parts separately. And if you get bored, go away, fix yourself something to drink, come back, and maybe we'll get to the part you're excited about. We'll also talk about group Skype as we get to the end, and thank you, Kent. A hat tip to Kent for reminding me about group Skype. The video part in VidBlaster, for right now, VidBlaster can only capture the video using a screen capture portion. And fortunately, VidBlaster has built into it the ability to do screen capture. You remember there are 2 different kinds of camera modules in VidBlaster. There's camera module Roman numeral 1, and there's camera module Roman numeral 3. Camera module Roman numeral 3 is the new one, which has all the high technology stuff in and low CPU usage. But camera module 1 Really the only purpose that I see for it now is the ability to do screen capture. Screen capture is not available in version 3 at this time, or in the camera module 3 at this time. It's only available in camera module 1. So you'll need a camera module, Roman numeral 1, and where you would otherwise select the camera, instead of selecting the camera, you select screen capture. Oh, that makes sense. And then you right-click on the module, and that'll bring up some options for your screen capture. Let's see. Let's pull a module in and see if we can't get it to do that. And so, can I capture them? I can't capture myself, can I? That's not going to work very well. Well, let's try this. I'm going to extend my desktop over there, and we'll take this module over there, and let me shift to this other screen right there. And you can see I've just got a single little camera module sitting out there. It's set to screen capture, and if I right click it, it drops down some menus. And keeping in mind I'm using the broadcast edition, so this is going to look a little different if you're using the Home, the Pro, or the Studio edition. The skin is just going to be a little different, but everything functions the same way. So right click, and I'm going to select capture. And then I have choices. Whoa, I didn't mean to click that yet. Sorry about that. I've got choices of selecting an area, any area I want to. I can select an area that's a perfect square, that is a 1:1 aspect ratio. I can select an area 4:3, that is the old TV set aspect ratio. I can select widescreen, 16:9, or I can select full screen. So based on what I'm doing, I can select. Now, currently my broadcast is set up for widescreen 16:9. So if I were going to capture Skype video, I would want to set it for 16:9 because that's what's going to incorporate just perfectly into my broadcast. And we're going to do that with a live caller here in just a second. So I would click that, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to do it. And then when I do that, my screen turns kind of white, and then I can use my mouse and drag, and select the area that I want to do, and then pow, I've got the screen capture. And you can see this little guy is already set up for screen capture, and he is currently set up for screen capture on something else that I'm going to use in just a little bit. So let's pull him back out of the way, and we'll bring our desktop back in so we can see all our other stuff. And oh, now you can see the next thing I had going there. Let's go back here. So that's going to allow me to capture the video from my caller. Now I want to get video back out to my caller. And so I want to send this program, this window that we see right here, I want to send this back to my caller. So I have to go to my Skype. So let's go over to Skype. And I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to go down to Options, and it popped up a menu on a different monitor, so let me drag it over to where you can see it. There we go. And this is the Options menu, and you see there we've got lots of different settings that we can change here. Let's go down to Video Settings, and I can select a webcam. Now, VidBlaster has the ability to output video using the virtual video device that's built into the output module, and so that's called the VidBlaster VVD, and you can see I've done that. So here's what Skype is receiving right now, which is the program, and so it's kind of one of these infinity loops, but that's what you see, and that's what my Skype caller would see. And so I would set that, and I would click Save, and that's how I would get that part back to my caller. Now that only works if you have the output module. If you have the Home Edition, you don't have an output module yet. You have to upgrade to the Pro Edition to get the output module. So you've got two choices. Those of you home users, now we're talking about just home users now. You can, number one, use an older version of Skype like I think 4.3 or older, and then you can use the streamer module. And let's see, let's bring over, we're going to bring that up for just a second. Here is my streamer module right here, and here is my output module. And so you can see my output module is sending what you're looking at, one of those infinity loops. Let's take that graphic off for just a second. So we'll move the output module over here so you can see they're separate. It's set up to take the program, which is my main program video, and it sends it to the VidBlaster VVD, which is what we saw in Skype just a second ago. And it's on, we can tell because it's got the little red dot up there. But if we go down to the streamer module, if you've got the home version of, the home edition of VidBlaster, and you're using Skype 4.3 or older, if you right-click the streamer module, you can come down and select Stream To, and then select Virtual Video Device, and then click Start. And you now see that we've got something streaming out there. And if I had an older version of Skype, we'll go back over to Skype, I could go to Tools, to Options. Let me drag this menu back over where you can see it. Go to Video Settings and click down, and I would have, one of my choices here would be VidBlaster. That's all it would say. It wouldn't say VVD or anything like that. It would say VidBlaster, and that would tell me that I was getting the virtual video device from the streamer in VidBlaster. Now, it doesn't appear in the newer versions of Skype. When Skype changed it, all of a sudden a bunch of people fell off the table and didn't have the ability to stream, to incorporate Skype into their broadcast. At least they could incorporate the video from Skype, but they couldn't shoot a video back to a what would you call it? A caller. Yeah, a caller. They couldn't shoot video back to a caller. So, you could also, if you didn't have, if you were stuck with the newest version of Skype, and your only purpose of sending video back to your caller, to your guest, is so they can sort of see what's going on, their quality doesn't make that much difference. I guess you could set up a webcam pointing at your physical screen, and then let them, and then select that webcam as the webcam in Skype, and that way at least they would have an idea of what it was you were doing on the screen. You don't want to let them try to watch the program live, because as we've discussed many times, there's a delay there. Today's delay runs about 8 seconds. So can you imagine if I was doing an interview and there was an 8-second delay between the time I said something and my guest said something? That would be unusable. And if you were doing YouTube Live can have anywhere from a 40-second to a 90-second delay. So that would just be totally unusable. Wouldn't work. So you have to send your guest back your best effort at a live feed, and the lowest of the low, I think, is going to be just simply that old technology of pointing a camera at the screen and then selecting that screen for Skype in return video. So that's what we've got so far. Let me check with the chat room here and see if we've got any questions on this so far. No, we've got an interesting chat going on. You guys got to join the chat. It's a lot of fun. So that's the video. So to recap, with video, we basically did a screen capture of our video, and we brought that in as a camera Roman numeral 1 module in VidBlaster and screen capped it, and so we could select that camera in order to put the guest on the screen. Now that would just put their video on the screen. What if we wanted to take their video and let me be on one side and them be on the other side? Well, now we're getting a little bit more complicated. Now we have to use an effect module. And let's see, let me get over here, and we'll do a little demo on that. Let me move these guys. We will turn the streamer off and get it out of the way for a second. We'll move the output module out of the way for a second, and let's add an effect module. right there. And we're going to tell it we want to do a picture-in-picture. So we'll select picture-in-picture, and then our first picture is going to be I think it's just going to be our background. And so we'll use Still Store 2, which is my background. You can see there. And then that black box in the middle is the picture-in-picture. So we're going to take that picture-in-picture over here, and we're going to, let's make it big like this, where it takes up most of the screen. And I'm just going to grab it on the, whoops. Didn't mean to select that one quite yet. Let's go back to our screen capture right there. There we go. And we're going to let that be as big as it possibly can. Now I'm going to just trim it a little bit on either side. And just for the sake of argument for right now, let's put camera 1 in there. So let's trim me up a little bit right there, and we'll slide me over to the left so that we get this look. And we'll get the logo off for the moment. And that's not bad. That's not bad. So let's go back here, and let's say that we are gonna, well, I tell you what, let's do this with a live caller. I think that'll be a lot more fun. Bob, are you available? Can we do a video call with you? I'm gonna initiate a video call. Maine Bob from Maine is gonna be, let's see if we can get him in the house. Bob, are you around to answer? Bob's like, oh, what, me now? Okay, well, there he is. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what, me now? Okay, well, there he is. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what, me now? Okay.
Wait a minute. It's going to be tricky hearing the voice here. Tom, can you hear me?
I can.
I still hear ringing.
Okay, Bob, you need to turn off the show.
It's going to be tricky hearing the voice here. Tom, can you hear me?
I can.
I still hear ringing.
Okay, Bob, you need to turn off the show.
Turn off the show. Okay, that's what's going on.
There we go.
Yes, that's better.
Okay.
Hello, Tom.
Hey, Bob. Let's let everybody see what Bob looks like there. And
I am.
We're going to have to adjust our screen capture. Bob has got.
I messed this up. I've got Skype going, and I'm also using VidBlaster, and I have my 2 effect modules going. I don't know whether I see you, though.
Okay.
Are we still on the call?
Yeah, we are.
I'm just seeing myself.
That's
Let me
okay.
try. Tom.
I'm here. I'm here. You know what? You're probably seeing yourself because that's probably the video that I'm sending you. Can you see me now?
Tom, are you there?
Bob, I'm here. Okay, Bob doesn't have his audio
It's cold
configured
up here,
correctly.
but I don't think you can hear me. What's going on? Are we on?
Yes, we're on. Let's see.
I hear nothing.
Yeah.
I hear nothing. I see nothing. So I don't hear the voice. I need to go back to the drawing board. Oh, you're going to type me something, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
In the chat. I have the chat still working, but not the show.
Okay. Okay, we're going to get this worked out, folks. It's really funny because Bob can hear us.
We may be on a call, we may not. I don't know. Check Skype chat.
There we go. There we go. Now he's getting it. Check Skype chat. Yeah, that's right. Tell him to turn up the volume. And it's funny because he could hear the show.
There he is.
Bob, can you hear us now? This is funny. And this is real. This would be the kind of thing that we would do in pre-show, as we kind of worked out these details and got our connections all set. So this is a great way to demo what it looks like.
Speaker. I hear myself. It's the Behringer. Let me try the other Behringer here.
Now he's gone.
Main Behringer. Yes, that one's working.
Okay.
Speakers.
And what Bob is doing is he's selecting another sound device.
Helps. I don't know whether that helps. I'm not hearing anything.
Well, check. Yet. Test 1, 2, 3. Bob, can
the
you
main
hear me?
Behringer has an input from the PC. Up. Next one. It's getting hot in here. Gotta take off my coat.
So obviously Bob has got multiple audio devices under his speaker setting. And only one of those has got our
Just
audio.
Skype without VidBlaster. Okay.
All right. Oh, and we lost him altogether. And this is a pretty typical negotiation for the first time somebody's done this kind of thing where they've and again, Bob has added some audio devices to his PC. He's got a Behringer sound card, probably something like this, that's USB, that plugs in, that gives him other audio options. We'll give him just a second to get it configured on his end. Now let's go back over to our screen capture of the window. So what Bob wants to look at is Tools, Options, and he was in these sets of menus. You could sort of see it behind the scenes. Audio Settings, and you can see the volume meter moving under the microphone, so it's obviously picking up me. And you know what? He couldn't hear me. I wonder if that was my fault. I don't think it was, but we will we'll call back in a second and see. I don't think that was my fault. So I've got my microphone set up, and you can see I've got 4 different audio. You may not be able to read those, but I've got 4 different audio devices available to Skype. And unlike cameras, which can't be shared typically, audio devices can be shared. So the first one is a USB input from the UCA202. Well, the UCA202 is my Behringer sound card. And this plugs in USB on one end and then has stereo inputs, stereo outputs on the other end. And so I am sending to Skype, that's the microphone, I'm sending to Skype a mix from my mixer to this sound card to the USB port on my computer to Skype. And that mix includes my audio and my player's audio on my PC, but it doesn't include the audio from my Skype caller. That's called a mix minus. And that means that since he won't be hearing his own voice, he won't get an echo. And if there's a little delay in the Skype call, that delay won't annoy him, because he'll, if he says something and then it repeats back, half a second after he does, that can be very distracting. Now Skype does a pretty good job of noise cancellation on its own, but it doesn't always work. So if you want to be in a situation where it always works 100% of the time, you need to set up that mix minus. And then the second thing that I've got set here is I've got where it says automatically adjust microphone settings. I've turned that off. That is not checked, and I've set my volume for high on the mic side. Here, Sounds like a call might be coming in. Let's see. All right, Bob says he's turned off VidBlaster and just Skype. Okay. I'll ask him to call me. And we'll see. The chat here is a great way to communicate if you're having trouble getting things set up. Most of the time you can leave your connection active. Yeah, there's Bob. So we're going to answer with video. Okay, Bob, can you hear us? Hello, Bob.
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay, you need to adjust your video source because it's probably still set for VidBlaster.
Okay.
Whoops, don't want to do that. That won't work. And the reason why Bob is not full screen here is because I've got the chat on, which is this little icon right here. See the blue one, the instant messaging or IM. If I turn that off, we'll get him back on full screen. And right now, this is the VidBlaster screen that he was sending me. This is the video he was sending me from VidBlaster previously. And it's still sort of stuck because he needs to go into Skype, into Tools, into Options, and then under the settings in the left-hand column, set video settings, and then go back and readjust and select his webcam again. Bob, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
And I finally turned off the other feed. So I'm going to make this. Oh, so it still said VidBlaster. There, now this is better. I wonder if this works.
Looks like something's coming. There he is, Bob, in front of his green screen.
Oh, and I had this hat on before, but you know, you get the idea.
Bob, we saw you.
It's cold up here.
we could see you and hear you perfectly.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, it just the audio device just wasn't the proper one for you on your end, on the speaker end. Okay. Thank you for being a guinea pig once again.
So I tried the whole 9 yards. I figured, okay, I'm just going to run VidBlaster and Skype and all of that, and I know all of this stuff needs to be tested ahead of time, which we just did this live and tried it out.
That's perfect. That's perfect. and it wasn't even the VidBlaster stuff that was a problem. All right, so let me do a capture of Bob's. We're going to readjust it. Now, what you guys are looking at right now is a screen capture that I've made of my right-hand monitor. And I'm not interested in getting all of this extra. I want to get rid of this right here. I want to get rid of all of this down here. And I basically just want to capture Bob in a headshot. Now, he's slightly off to the right in this shot, but that doesn't matter because, oops, he's changed something. What'd you do there, Bob?
I actually tried to adjust my webcam because I was seeing part of my green screen, but I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it be and let you do the adjustment.
Go ahead and give me just your basic feed because actually your webcam froze as you did that. Yeah, there we go.
Is it working now?
Yeah, but go ahead and give me that wide shot again. The wide shot is actually a better shot to use for something like that. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's the best. That's the best. Because what we're going to do is we're going to right click on that module, say capture 16:9, and it really doesn't matter because we're going to trim him out, but let's just say capture 16:9, and then we'll scoot over here, and we will just pull in and get Bob. Let's try that one. That's better. But I've still got him slightly off center, so let's capture that again. 16:9. And let's see how that one works. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, Bob.
Okay. This is great.
Okay. So now, let's go back to our capture shot. This is where we are so far. We're going to add, Bob, hang on just a second. If you'll just sort of hang out there with us, we're going to bring you back in. we're going to add a second effects module right there. We're going to send it to picture-in-picture fixed aspect ratio. And we're going to use this first effects module over here as our source. So it's going to be effects module 8. And now you see we have another black box here. And we're going to take that black box, we're going to make it up full screen, or not full screen, but what I want to try to do is get the width, the height of this black box the same height as my picture over here. So we're going to drag it down to the bottom a little further. Is that right? Yeah, that looks pretty close. And then we'll set that to camera 8, which is Bob. There he is. Okay, so, but he is right on top of me, so let's trim him down a little bit. Now, here's a common problem that we find. We'll just pull him over a little bit, and that's almost the right size. Notice how the two heads are different sizes. That is, that would be very amateurish at best. So what we would want to do is either make my head bigger or Bob's head smaller. So we're gonna see if we can't make my head a little bigger, and then we'll just trim it some more. So let's see if we can't do that. We're almost about the same size, and then we're gonna trim me back down a little bit.
Pretty dirty trick they did with that walker.
And I hear somebody in the background. I'm hoping that's on Bob's end and not on mine.
That's at my end. Don't worry.
Okay. And I've lost my picture-in-picture. I've lost control of this little rascal. Let's see if I can't get it back. There.
Hold on just a moment.
Okay.
It needs to be filled out. Oh, you want this envelope so you don't lose track of it.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
One thing that you'll want to do with your guest is to coach them that, you've got them on a fairly tight window, and therefore they can't do a lot of moving around on their set, and if they do, then we'll lose them. Okay.
That was me. I had to give my wife a check, so.
That's quite
that
understandable.
Has to be done. Very important.
Okay, so we can see where we are right now, and we're pretty close. I'm going to move Bob over just a little tighter, and then I'm going to pull him down just a tad. Do I have that? I don't. So that's right there. We're getting even closer now. And we'll just try to center things up just a tad. Okay. And then I would come back. Let's go back to this shot for just a second. And then I would come back, and underneath Bob right here, I would lay in another graphic that would probably identify me and identify him, and I would use that as an overlay module. And so if I want to go to this shot, we can pretend that this is our overlay module that actually identifies both of us. Now, one of the things you want to be a little careful of, looks like I'm a little too wide, is frame rate, because the effects module does eat up a lot of CPU, and you can see how my frame rate has dropped down a little bit. And Bob, your picture looks actually better than mine there. That's pretty cool. I like that. Now, there's also some coloration difference. I've kind of adjusted mine for how I want to look in front of my green screen, so that when I pop my green screen up, my colors look great. And so I might work with my guest to do the same kind of thing, to kind of dim his background down so that the contrast between the two of us in terms of our backgrounds wasn't quite as noticeable. Now, one of the issues that Bob had on the front end, and let's go to, let's see. We need a screen capture. And let's take this screen capture, and we'll capture just a selected area. And we'll do right here. And we're going to basically get Bob's whole area in again. We're going to go to Tools, go to Options, And then I want to pull that menu in. Sorry, Bob, we're going to cover you up for just a second. And in video settings, I've got the VidBlaster VVD, which is the video that I'm sending him. And so Skype is going to take that, and so whatever Skype sees right here is what Bob is going to see. And that's good. And then under audio settings, I am sending him, that is my microphone, that's what I'm sending, an input onto my sound card that is actually coming from my mixer. And so I've taken my mixer and I've taken my mic channel and my player channel, and if I was using it today, my cell phone channel, and I'm sending all those channels together in a mix back to Bob. And that goes from an output on my mixer to the USB UCA 202, that's a Behringer device. And that is seen by my PC as a separate audio device, so I'll select it. And so Bob gets to hear that audio. Now the audio from Bob, you'll see is this next section down here, and we'll play it.
This is Bob speaking. You can hear me, I believe.
There you go. You can hear Bob. And this is set up to be speakers on my PC. Now you can I'll drop this down, and you see I've got 4 different audio possibilities, 4 different audio device possibilities. And the one that I'm choosing is basically a speaker output on the back of my PC, where I've taken a 1/4 inch stereo jack and plugged it into the speaker port, so I'm picking up stereo, and I've routed that into my mixer. But since Bob's not doing anything in stereo, he's you know, the left channel and the right channel are the same audio. I've just taken his left channel audio and I've brought it into my mixer on channel 3, and it's actually ends up being an RCA by the time it gets up to my mixer. So I've adapted it from RCA down to 1/4 inch and plugged it into the 1/4 inch jack. And so I've got separate control over Bob's audio. So if Bob's in the green room, as it were, let's get this out of the way for just a second. If Bob's in the green room waiting to be on the show, I can pull his audio down right here. So Bob, go ahead and talk. Just say something really nice and funny. So Bob, nobody at home can hear Bob because Bob has, and it's actually his video is a little choppy too, so we may have some intermittent internet connections here. All right, Bob, I'm going to crank you back up. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Good.
There we go. Bob, what's your internet speed today? Do you know? Is the ice affecting you guys?
I don't know. It's usually pretty good. We've got, you know, fiber to the neighborhood, but
oh wow, okay.
But I'm not paying for the full package yet.
Gotcha. We're just getting some audio, some video artifacts down in the bottom part. You can see right above.
I can see the artifacts too.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the same thing.
And then periodically your video will freeze. So that's probably a Skype issue, would be my guess. So, whatever you did right there just cleared it right up.
CPU usage is 23, 38%, 25, 20.
Okay.
It's bouncing around. So my CPU is pretty good.
Okay. All right. Mine is right at 75 to 80, so I'm a little on the high end. But I've got a lot going on. So Bob is sending video. Right now he's sending it to Skype from his webcam, and he's receiving audio through Skype, and he has selected one of it. I guess, Bob, you selected one of your speaker devices?
Yes. Let me just tell you exactly what I selected here. Audio devices, I actually picked for speakers. I've got the main PC speakers.
Okay. Okay.
And for the microphone, you've got, maybe that's going through the webcam and not the, It's probably being picked up by the webcam and not my nice microphone that's beside my head here.
Okay, well, why don't you switch over and let's see what happens.
So, microphone. Okay, this is with through the Behringer and the fancy mic like you have.
Oh, wow. That's all the difference in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay. So yeah, Bob, that's a great point, is that it is very common to pick up the wrong audio device, either on the speaker end, which is why he couldn't hear us to begin with, or on the microphone end, which is why he wasn't sending the audio that he thought he was sending. And so this is a common kind of pre-show occurrence where you can get all the bugs worked out, as it were, and know that you've got things dialed in. So it seems like Bob and I have got things pretty well dialed in. If he were going to be a guest on the show, I would definitely put him in the green room now, and I would draw his audio, which I've got on my mixer marked Skype. I would draw his audio down to nil, and then he would go about and do whatever he needed to do. He could watch the show if he wanted to, but he would have to remember that there was a delay in it, and it also added extra duty to his internet connection. All right, so let's see. Looks like we've got frozen video from Bob again. It's kind of coming and going. That's interesting. And you know, this is a real life occurrence, is that you'll get into a situation where, you know, he may have a robust internet connection on his end, and I've got a robust internet connection on my end, but somewhere in between us, Skype is sitting out in Detroit, where it's, you know, -30, and the fibers have all frozen together, or some such. One other thing that I will frequently do when it comes time to do a show is I will set up a screen capture, or actually I'll use the same screen capture, but I will set up a different effect that just has my guest, and then has my guest on the background that you can see in this shot right here. So when he's doing a longish kind of briefing or whatever it is, then he gets the whole screen. Or if we're showing, you know, some sort of video thing, I can do this same type thing and take my screen and dedicate it to video, and then take his screen, his video right there, and shrink it down and just put it in the corner so you can still see him talking while the video takes up the rest of the screen. And that's using the picture-in-picture concept. So that can be a lot of fun to do when you're doing a talk show in the background.
So I think the picture is better now, and it might be. I just turned off. I had Carbonite was doing a backup, and I told it to stop. It was messing around, and I bet that was what was messing things up.
Carbonite is a pig. Carbonite is a hog. There is no doubt about that. It will use as much bandwidth as it thinks it can get away with. Mm-hmm. That's great.
I told it to take a hike, and maybe I'm coming through better now.
Yes, you are. All the artifacts are gone. Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun, and it's really kind of pushed me to learn to do exactly what you're doing here. So I guess I'll have to watch the show again so I get, you know, do the details. There's a great way to just jump in and do it.
And how, you know, what has it taken us, 10 or 15 minutes to get it worked out?
Yeah.
Which is not unreasonable. But if I had only called Bob 5 minutes before the show, we would have been in trouble.
Yes.
Now, this doesn't take setting up, you know, days in advance. I think generally, you know, a half an hour or 15 minutes if it's a second call to get this stuff worked out. But Bob and I worked it out. I'm reasonably satisfied with what we've got here. And I think if we were going to do this again, I'd probably take my video and try to brighten it up a little bit so that it better matched him. Or I would work with him on getting his VidBlaster background back in. And working on maybe dimming the contrast or the brightness. Bob, what webcam are you using?
I'm using the 930.
Okay.
Logitech 930.
Okay. Yep. And you're getting a little bit of what we call blowout right here.
That might be a little light.
Yeah. Yep.
cut the lights down and play with that. But I just
You can play with the lights, and you can play with some of the settings on the 930. I mean, oh, you said 930.
930. Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's the one, and I'm having some little trouble with that. I've tried to use the 930 to do just direct video recordings.
Right.
And the controller kind of does funny things, and you kind of have to keep telling it again to work.
Yeah.
So I don't think the software is quite worked out for the 930.
No, and the 930 was designed as what I think they're calling an enterprise webcam, which means it was designed to work specifically with like GoToMeeting and other kinds of programs, and actually make your camera adjustments within that software, within the GoToMeeting application, as opposed to making them through the Logitech camera interface. So
So I'm having some luck with the Logitech interface. I mean, that's what I was playing with, because I can zoom in,
right,
and clean up my green screen,
right,
stuff around, and
right,
that kind of thing. I do notice the autofocus is wacky a lot.
Got to turn it off. Yeah.
Yep.
Just turn it right off. Okay, Bob, thank you so much. We're going to drop your section of the call. There's Bob. He's getting bundled
I'm
up.
out of here.
All
Bye
right.
for now.
Take care. Thank you, Bob. That was really super. That was Maine Bob O'Connor from Maine, USA. Good job, Bob. Good job. Thank you so much. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about this stuff? If you're using the Skype paid application, where you can have multiple callers on, then that can be a little tricky. And what basically you have to do is you have to set up a series of screen captures. So if let's say you had yourself and 3 other callers, you would set up a series of screen captures, 3 other screen captures, and then use the quad effect to pull in all 4 videos onto one image in VidBlaster. But the problem is, if somebody drops the call, Skype rearranges the physical layout of where those video screens are. Excuse me, if it has 3 of them and one of them drops, then it shifts to 2 and makes them larger, so you have to redo your screen captures. It makes that a little difficult. That's why some folks have moved to multiple Skype calls. That is, one PC with a Skype connection on it with one Skype address, a second PC with Skype on it, and a second Skype address. And then they're capturing those on those PCs and sending them out, and then bring them into a central PC as and those would end up being camera sources in the central PC. One of the advantages to that is, that you've got a visual image that doesn't change in its size. You kind of have to be careful with that, especially if your bandwidth challenged, because each version of Skype will want to set up its own connection and use up some of your bandwidth. There's the guys from Queen's Network up in New York has, I think, 2 fiber optic lines going in at 50 megs per, so they don't have to worry about that. They can have a bunch of Skype callers and not have to worry about bandwidth problems. But if you're dealing with, say less than 10 megs up, then you want to be careful about how you do that. There's some other folks that have played, as we have, with other video programs like Uvu or Google Hangouts even, or we did some web. What was the web program that we did a while back? WebRTC. And we're able to get some pretty good results with that, and it just sort of depends on how the WebRTC has been configured as to whether the multiple windows dynamically rearrange if somebody drops their call. But that's a part of WebRTC, and you want to keep an eye on WebRTC, because I think that's going to be the Skype of the future in terms of what we're doing, what we're using Skype for. So recapping a little bit. We're sending audio, we're sending video, we're receiving audio, we're receiving video, and we're setting all that up in Skype But in terms of what we're sending, sometimes we have to be a little, what's the word? I was going to say tricky, but it's really, we have to be thoughtful about how we're going to send video back to our caller so that they can get the video that they need to see what's going on in the show, and send an audio back to them so that they could hear. It was interesting with Bob, and that's a great example, that we were sending video, he could see us. We were sending audio, but he couldn't hear us. We could see him and we could hear him, so we were configured correctly, and he just needed to switch one of his audio devices to the one that was the audio that Skype was expecting, or that his PC was carrying. Boy, I did a terrible job of explaining that, didn't I? Oh well, that's you'll figure it out. One of the issues that I had in setting this up was that I didn't have, number one, I had a ground loop problem. I got a bad hum coming from my PC speaker when I brought my PC speaker directly into my mixer. So I had to run down to Radio Shack and get a ground loop isolator. I think that's what it's called. Yep, audio system ground loop isolator. And let's see if I can put a camera on it for you real quickly without causing a lot of troubles here. Yeah, there we go. It's that shiny black cylinder right there on the back of the mixer, and that connects to channel 3, which is how I'm getting the Skype audio from my PC into my mixer. So I had to put that ground loop isolator there to get rid of the buzz, and I'm just using one of the channels. That's the red feed there on the left. And what that's doing, let me set up this static shot I had a second ago that I've now destroyed by showing you guys that. That's all right. Is everybody needs a good set of different adapters. And so the adapter that I used here was a 1/4 inch on one end, mono. You can tell it's one black stripe, what they call tip ring, I believe. And then RCA on the other end, so I could plug that straight into my mixer. And then there's, then you can have the 1/8 inch with RCA. You can have the 1/4 inch with 1/8 inch. You can have RCA to 1/8 inch, and all sorts of other possibilities. You'll want to do, eventually you'll end up with an old bank bag like this that's got 1,001 different kind of, sorry, it's a green bank bag, so the chroma key is having trouble with that. But I must have 40 or 50 different adapters there that I've used over the years, and just throw them in the bag, keep them all in one place, and that way I've got them when I need them. And adapters really do make life easier if you've got what you need. So that's how to do do VidBlaster and Skype together in one place. Again, don't forget to turn off your automatic updating in Skype so that it doesn't update overnight when you're not watching, and then the next day suddenly it decides it doesn't like your VidBlaster VVD anymore. In fact, for a while, VidBlaster's VVD is the only VVD of all the different other softwares that was working with Skype. And so there were folks that had to bounce to VidBlaster just to be able to send that return video back. Kind of interesting the way that worked out. That's the show for today. If you're watching live, hang around for the post show. We're going to have balloons and cookies. But if you are watching us on YouTube, we're delighted that you stayed around, and we welcome you to join us every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock in London, and sometime early Thursday morning if you're watching from Australia. And we're glad you have. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, tom@vidblasterguy.com. Should have mentioned this earlier, sorry that I didn't, but I am an authorized VidBlaster reseller. So if you need to purchase VidBlaster or an upgrade, you can do that from me. Golly, I guess that's about it. So we're going to roll on out of here, and we sure thank you for showing up. and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. So take care.